Chosen One. They did a massive death spell on you to shut you up, and someone just died from it backfiring. A binding crafted specifically to silence your voice forever has ricocheted back with devastating force, claiming the life of someone in their inner circle. This was your ancestral protection system activating with lethal precision. The spell cast against you was sophisticated beyond anything encountered before. This multi-layered binding was designed to gradually steal your breath, compromise your throat chakra, and slowly drain the life force powering your ability to speak truth. But your spiritual immune system proved stronger than any practitioner anticipated. Their critical error was assuming your protection operated like basic spiritual shields, not understanding that targeting you meant declaring war on a bloodline protected by forces that annihilate threats with surgical precision. That family member you've been suspicious of, the one whose energy feels wrong whenever around, this person has been the inside coordinator for everything that's been happening to you. Blood magic is real, and your shared DNA has been used as a highway to bypass your spiritual defenses. But every spell helped to be cast has been tracked by your ancestral guard, and now there's a karmic debt so massive it's going to destroy their entire life. This betrayal runs deeper than simple jealousy or sibling rivalry. This person has been systematically documenting your spiritual practices, taking photos of your altar setup when you're not home, copying down the exact words of prayers you speak aloud, even collecting strands of your hair from brushes and combs. What was being created is what practitioners call a spiritual dossier, that allows other people to craft targeted spells with precision that should be impossible from a distance. Your family member discovered that blood connections work both ways in the most devastating manner possible. While exploiting your genetic link to help practitioners target you, your ancestral protectors were simultaneously using that same connection to track every participant in the conspiracy and mark each one for elimination. The intimate knowledge possessed about your energy signature became the very information that allowed cosmic justice to identify and systematically neutralize every threat to your mission. Your relatives who should have been protecting you instead became intelligence assets for criminal organizations, documenting your spiritual practices during family visits, photographing your sacred spaces when you stepped away, and sharing intimate details about your fears and vulnerabilities with people who specialized in exploiting such information to craft targeted curses. But your ancestors were documenting everything as well. Every betrayal was recorded. Every violation of family trust was catalogued. Every moment when protection was withheld from you when it should have been offered was noted by spiritual authorities who take such betrayals very seriously indeed. The karmic debt being accumulated by this family member was growing exponentially with each piece of information shared with your enemies. The breaking point came when this relative realized that the karmic consequences weren't limited to abstract spiritual punishment. Physical manifestations began appearing that directly mirrored the attacks being orchestrated against you. The throat problems you were experiencing from their binding spells began manifesting in their own voice. The breathing difficulties designed to weaken you started affecting their own respiratory system. The financial instability meant to destabilize your ability to fight back began systematically destroying their own economic foundation. Every family gathering, every holiday meal, every casual conversation has been an intelligence gathering operation. Energy patterns were being memorized, noting when your protection feels strongest, identifying the times when you're most vulnerable to attack. The intimate knowledge possessed about your routines, your fears, your dreams, your spiritual practices has been weaponized against you in ways that would horrify you if you knew the full extent. The person who just died wasn't chosen randomly by their backfired spell. Your ancestors identified the most dangerous threat to your mission and eliminated it with precision that looks like an accident to outside observers, but is actually cosmic justice in action. The practitioner who specialized in throat chakra bindings, who had successfully silenced other chosen ones in the past, who was confident about stripping away your ability to speak truth permanently, just discovered that some voices are protected by forces that don't negotiate. But the family connection is just one piece of a much larger operation. There's someone in federal prison who's been coordinating these attacks through a network that spans multiple facilities and involves corrupted guards who smuggle spiritual materials and contraband ritual supplies. This isn't random spiritual warfare. This is organized crime with a supernatural element that operates like a business. Prison communications are monitored, but codes were developed that sounded like ordinary family conversations while actually containing detailed instructions for targeting specific individuals. Conversations about taking care of grandma's garden were actually directives about which chosen ones to attack and which methods would be most effective against their particular type of protection. References to family recipes contained ingredients lists for binding spells, while discussions about visiting old friends provided coordinates for ritual sites where group attacks could be coordinated. Your voice represented a direct threat to freedom because you refused to stay quiet about witnessed criminal activities. The information you carried could extend prison sentences, expose ongoing criminal networks, and provide testimony that would connect seemingly unrelated cases involving fraud, identity theft, and witness intimidation. Your integrity made you dangerous to entire operations that depended on silence from people who had observed their activities. But the coordination required for these attacks created vulnerabilities that investigations were beginning to exploit. Every coded phone call created recorded evidence. Every visitor who carried messages left surveillance footage. Every guard who smuggled materials created security breaches that were being documented by internal affairs departments. The network that seemed so sophisticated was actually leaving evidence trails that pointed directly back to the sources of coordination. Your protection was tracking these communications as well, building cases not just against the direct perpetrators, but against everyone involved in the conspiracy to silence you. Each coded conversation was being decoded by spiritual intelligence that operates far beyond human law enforcement capabilities. Evidence was being preserved in dimensions where it could never be destroyed or corrupted by earthly authorities. The intensity of the attacks against you has been directly proportional to how close various investigations are getting to the truth. Every time law enforcement gets a new lead, every time someone starts asking the right questions, every time evidence surfaces that connects their operations, the spiritual warfare against you escalates. Supernatural methods were being used to try to influence legal proceedings, corrupt investigations, and silence witnesses because traditional intimidation tactics weren't working on someone with your level of protection. Your case is becoming the keystone that investigators need to bring down an entire criminal network that operates across state lines and uses spiritual warfare as a tool for witness intimidation and evidence manipulation. What was thought to be a simple matter of silencing one chosen one has become the foundation for a federal investigation that's going to expose operations running for decades. If this message aligned with your purpose, hype this video so fellow chosen ones can find their confirmation. Someone in their circle is about to crack under the pressure of watching spellwork destroy their own lives instead of yours. The death of their most powerful practitioner has sent shockwaves through their entire network that go far beyond losing a valuable asset. People who thought themselves untouchable are suddenly realizing dealing with protection that operates according to laws beyond understanding, control, or overcoming. The breaking point arrived when the person preparing to confess realized that the death in their circle wasn't going to be an isolated incident. Your ancestral protection had marked every participant in targeting you, and elimination was proceeding methodically according to spiritual protocols that operate outside human concepts of mercy or proportional response. The karmic justice hunting each conspirator doesn't follow earthly timescales or show consideration for personal circumstances. The confession being prepared emerged from pure survival instinct rather than guilt or remorse about what had been done to you. Watching friends face consequences, seeing magical practices backfire repeatedly, understanding that investigations were closing in from multiple directions, this person realized that your protection doesn't just defend against future attacks, but actively hunts down past aggressors with precision that appears natural to outside observers, while following patterns that are obviously supernatural to anyone who understands spiritual warfare. You weren't just experiencing random difficulties or coincidental health problems during this period. Every symptom you developed, every obstacle that appeared in your path, every moment of confusion or fatigue was part of a coordinated campaign designed to gradually weaken your resolve while maintaining plausible deniability about supernatural targeting. The sophistication of their approach required extensive planning, multiple participants, and resource investments that created evidence trails investigators could follow once patterns became visible. This person who's preparing to confess has been watching their own curse work backfire in ways that seem specifically designed to torture psychologically. The binding spells helping to cast against your throat chakra are now manifesting as their own inability to speak without choking on words. The financial ruin attempted to orchestrate for you is systematically destroying their own resources through a series of events that seem coincidental but follow patterns too precise to be accidental. The confession preparing to emerge isn't motivated by guilt or remorse. It's pure survival instinct. Realization has dawned that your protection doesn't just defend against future attacks. It actively hunts down past aggressors and eliminates with precision that looks natural to outside observers, but follows patterns that are obviously supernatural to anyone who understands spiritual warfare. The revelation coming will expose details that investigators never could have discovered through traditional means. The locations of ritual sites where multiple chosen ones have been targeted over years, the identities of practitioners who specialize in different types of binding spells, the financial networks that fund these operations through shell companies and cryptocurrency transactions, the communication methods that coordinate attacks across multiple states and involve participants who have never met face to face. Coming clean isn't going to save from the karmic consequences of actions. It's going to accelerate the process by removing the spiritual protection that comes from operating in shadows. The moment talking to authorities begins, exposure to the full force of the justice that's been building against them will commence. Every secret revealed is going to validate your intuition about being under coordinated attack. Every method exposed is going to confirm that your experiences weren't paranoia or coincidence, but targeted spiritual warfare designed to destroy your ability to fulfill your divine mission. Every name provided is going to connect dots that investigators have been trying to piece together while dealing with evidence that seemed to defy logical explanation. But the critical error that's going to cost everything was assuming your protection operated according to human concepts of justice, mercy, and proportional response. Attacking you activated security protocols in spiritual dimensions where justice is swift, absolute, and designed to protect the divine plan from any interference, regardless of the consequences for those who dare to interfere. The spiritual dossier, your family member created by documenting your practices, collecting your hair, photographing your altar setup, and memorizing your energy patterns, has become evidence in federal court that proves the sophisticated level of planning that went into targeting you. Intelligence agencies are studying methods to understand how criminal organizations weaponize intimate family knowledge against chosen ones who threaten their operations. Your throat chakra, which was their primary target because silencing your voice was essential to their survival, has evolved into something far more powerful than normal human vocal capacity. The binding energy that was supposed to constrict your ability to speak has been transformed into amplification technology that ensures every word you speak resonates with frequencies that reshape reality around your testimony. Right now, federal authorities are building a case that's going to shock the world and rewrite how law enforcement understands the intersection between organized crime and spiritual warfare. The death that resulted from their backfired spell work has triggered an investigation that's uncovered connections spanning multiple agencies, crossing jurisdictional boundaries, and revealing patterns of criminal behavior that investigators are calling unprecedented in scope and sophistication. Your case has become the central hub around which an entire multi-agency task force is organizing efforts. Bank records that seemed unrelated are suddenly showing coordinated financial flows designed to fund supernatural targeting operations. Phone logs that appeared routine are revealing coded communications that coordinate attacks across vast distances. Travel patterns that looked innocent are exposing a network of practitioners who move from target to target like spiritual assassins for hire. But you're not walking into that federal building as someone seeking justice or hoping that authorities will believe claims about supernatural harassment. You're entering as someone who embodies justice itself, whose experiences have been validated by confessions, whose testimony is supported by evidence proving every detail of endured spiritual warfare, and whose voice carries the authority of someone who has faced the worst coordinated attacks and emerged victorious rather than broken. The preparation for your testimony involves more than reviewing facts and organizing evidence. You're stepping into a level of spiritual power that has been building throughout this entire ordeal. Every prayer spoken during attacks has been like loading spiritual ammunition into a cosmic weapon. Every moment you chose truth over comfort has been preparing you for this battle, where your words will literally reshape reality around the legal proceedings. Your testimony transcends being simply evidence to support criminal prosecutions. You're channeling the combined authority of every ancestor who ever stood against oppression, every chosen one who ever refused to be silenced, every force of light that ever battled organized darkness. Your voice carries frequencies that resonate with divine justice itself, and those frequencies amplify through legal proceedings in ways that transcend anything that should be possible in earthly courtrooms. Investigators working on your case have begun experiencing phenomena that defies traditional law enforcement training in ways that convince even skeptical federal agents that your experiences represent something beyond normal criminal activity. Evidence that should have been destroyed appears intact through circumstances that seem miraculous. Witnesses who were planning to lie find themselves compelled to tell truth under oath. Digital communications that were encrypted beyond normal recovery methods become accessible through technical failures that target specific devices at precisely the moments when such access becomes crucial for building cases. Your case has become the catalyst for exposing an entire underground industry built around silencing chosen ones, whose missions threaten criminal operations, corrupt institutions, and organized systems of oppression. The death that started your story has become the foundation stone for federal task forces that specifically investigate supernatural harassment networks operating across state and national boundaries. But the cosmic significance transcends bringing criminals to justice or exposing supernatural harassment operations that target divine messengers. Your voice speaking truth in that courtroom creates what spiritual authorities call a divine precedent, where the universe officially recognizes that coordinated attacks against chosen ones trigger automatic protective responses that operate with lethal efficiency and absolute authority. Your testimony generates what federal prosecutors privately term supernatural corroboration, where your statements about being targeted by specific spells are immediately followed by confessions from practitioners admitting to casting exactly those spells, using methods that match your descriptions with precision that would be impossible unless your experiences were completely authentic and accurately reported. The desperation in attacks escalated proportionally to how close various investigations were getting to the truth. Every time law enforcement got new leads, every time someone started asking the right questions, every time evidence surfaced connecting operations, the spiritual warfare against you intensified. Supernatural methods were being used to influence legal proceedings, corrupt investigations, and silence witnesses, because traditional intimidation tactics weren't working on someone with your level of protection. But desperation made them sloppy in ways that created more evidence of coordination and intent. The more frantically attacks came at you, the more proof was generated of collaborative planning. Every spell required communication, resource sharing, and joint efforts that left digital fingerprints. Every ritual needed materials that created paper trails. Every practitioner became a potential witness who could be flipped to provide testimony. Your case has become the keystone that investigators needed to bring down criminal networks operating across state lines and using spiritual warfare as tools for witness intimidation and evidence manipulation. What seemed like a simple matter of silencing one chosen one has become the foundation for federal investigations, exposing operations that have been running for decades. The person who died in this story wasn't just their most skilled practitioner. It was the version of you that used to doubt your protection, that used to question whether you were really chosen, that used to wonder if you had what it takes to fulfill your divine mission. Their death spell became your resurrection power, transforming every limitation you once accepted into unlimited potential that's now manifesting in ways that are reshaping reality around you. The federal prosecutions that followed your testimony resulted in convictions that shattered multiple criminal networks and sent a message throughout the supernatural underground that targeting chosen ones comes with consequences that are swift, absolute, and irreversible. But the real victory isn't measured in prison sentences or criminal convictions. It's measured in the complete transformation of spiritual warfare dynamics that now protect all chosen ones from ever experiencing coordinated attacks like the ones you survived. Your family member who orchestrated the betrayal that started this entire ordeal has watched their life systematically dismantle itself as every relationship valued collapsed under the weight of karmic debt. Health deteriorated in ways that mirror exactly what was tried against your throat chakra. Financial resources evaporated through a series of events that seemed coincidental, but followed patterns too precise to be anything other than cosmic justice, correcting a fundamental imbalance. But the most beautiful aspect of their destruction is that it's happening in full view of everyone who might have considered following their example. Other potential betrayers in chosen one families are witnessing firsthand what happens when you weaponize blood connections against divine messengers. The message is clear, undeniable, and terrifying to anyone who might have been contemplating similar betrayals. The person who was coordinating attacks from federal prison discovered that protective custody doesn't extend to spiritual dimensions where ancestral guards operate with unlimited authority. Additional charges that seem to come from nowhere have extended their sentence in ways that ensure never again being in a position to threaten chosen ones. But more importantly, the supernatural abilities that once gave power have been permanently severed as part of karmic consequences. Every binding attempted to place on you has been transformed into breakthrough energy that's catapulting you toward levels of influence and impact never wanted you to reach. Every curse has become a blessing that's opening doors desperately wanted to keep closed. Every attempt to drain your energy has only connected you more deeply to sources of power that operate beyond anything that could be comprehended or interfered with. The viral explosion of your story across social media platforms triggered an awakening among chosen ones worldwide that exceeded every prediction about how quickly truth spreads when it's supported by undeniable evidence. Videos of you speaking about your experiences gained millions of views within hours. Comment sections filled with other chosen ones recognizing their own experiences in your testimony. Support groups formed spontaneously as people realized they weren't alone in facing coordinated spiritual attacks. But the real impact of your story going viral was the effect it had on the practitioners who had been making their living by targeting chosen ones for criminal organizations. Seeing one of their most skilled colleagues dead, watching their methods exposed in detail, understanding that their protective spells offered no defense against ancestral guards who operate with cosmic authority, abandonment of practices began en masse. The supernatural underground that once thrived on intimidating chosen ones into silence has been shattered by the revelation that divine messengers carry protection that not only deflects attacks, but eliminates threats with prejudice. The death that started your story has become a cautionary tale that spread through practitioner networks faster than any marketing campaign could have achieved. Your voice has become legendary in both law enforcement and spiritual communities, as the chosen one whose testimony bridged the gap between supernatural experiences and criminal prosecutions. Training programs now use your case as the definitive example of how to document, investigate, and prosecute spiritually motivated crimes. Your methods for recognizing coordinated attacks have become standard protocols for protecting other chosen ones. But beyond the practical applications of your victory, something fundamental has shifted in the cosmic balance between light and darkness. The universe has officially recognized that chosen ones operate under divine protection that responds to threats with overwhelming force. The security protocols that activated to protect you are now standard operating procedures that defend all divine messengers from coordinated attacks. The investigation that started with your case has evolved into a permanent task force that specifically targets criminal organizations attempting to use supernatural methods for witness intimidation, evidence manipulation, or silencing people who threaten their operations. Your testimony didn't just solve one case. It created an entirely new category of federal crime and established legal procedures for prosecuting supernatural harassment that protects countless future victims. Your breakthrough has triggered what cosmic authorities call universal protocol updates. where the fundamental rules governing protection of divine messengers have been permanently upgraded to prevent future targeting campaigns from ever reaching the level of sophistication that was directed against you. The universe has officially recognized that chosen ones operate under protection that responds to coordinated attacks with overwhelming defensive force that eliminates threats rather than simply deflecting them. The spell components that were crafted specifically to target your unique energy signature have been reverse-engineered by cosmic forces and transformed into templates for identifying and neutralizing similar attacks before other chosen ones can be harmed by comparable methods. Your suffering has become the blueprint for preventing future suffering among all divine messengers who carry truth that threatens organized systems of oppression and corruption. Every chosen one born from this moment forward carries in their spiritual DNA the protections you activated through surviving this coordinated assault. Your victory didn't just save your own voice from being silenced permanently. It ensured that no future chosen one will ever have to fight the same battle you fought, because the universe now recognizes these attacks as threats to the divine plan itself and responds accordingly with overwhelming protective force. But the most profound transformation extends beyond individual protection into collective awakening, where millions of people are recognizing their own experiences in your testimony and understanding for the first time that unexplained difficulties in their lives might actually be evidence of coordinated attacks against their divine missions rather than random bad luck or personal failures. The viral explosion of your story across digital platforms has evolved into more than awareness raising about spiritual warfare. It has become a global consciousness shift where ordinary people awaken to the reality that spiritual warfare is not ancient history or mythological concept, but current reality affecting millions of chosen ones who are living divine missions in contemporary times while facing sophisticated opposition that operates through supernatural methods. The transformation in how authorities approach these cases represents a complete shift in understanding about the intersection between spiritual realities and criminal justice systems. Where once such reports might have been dismissed as mental health issues or coincidental difficulties, your validated experiences have created protocols that take supernatural targeting seriously and investigate such claims with the same rigor applied to any other form of organized harassment. Your victory has established legal frameworks that recognize spiritual warfare as a legitimate form of criminal conspiracy, particularly when used to intimidate witnesses, manipulate legal proceedings, or silence people who carry information that threatens criminal operations. Future chosen ones who face similar attacks will have legal recourse and investigative protocols that didn't exist before your case broke open. These networks and exposed their methods to public scrutiny. The death spell that was supposed to silence you forever has become the most powerful amplification system your voice has ever possessed. Every binding component that was meant to constrict your throat chakra now operates as cosmic broadcasting equipment that ensures your words reach dimensions where divine justice operates with absolute authority. The practitioners who thought understanding of voice magic was complete discovered that some chosen ones carry frequencies that can't be contained by earthly limitations or supernatural constraints. Your family member who betrayed your trust and documented your spiritual practices for criminal organizations now faces consequences that mirror exactly what was intended for you, but amplified through karmic multiplication that operates according to cosmic mathematics rather than human concepts of proportional justice. Every photograph of your sacred space that was shared with practitioners has become evidence in federal investigations. Every strand of hair collected for binding spells has been transformed into DNA evidence that proves intimate family involvement in coordinated supernatural harassment. The federal prisoner who orchestrated attacks through coded communications and contraband spiritual materials has discovered that prison walls offer no protection against cosmic justice that operates with unlimited jurisdiction across all realms of existence. Additional charges that seem to emerge from nowhere have extended their sentence beyond any possibility of future threat to chosen ones. But more significantly, the supernatural abilities that once gave power over other inmates and influence over criminal networks have been permanently severed as part of karmic sentencing. Your throat chakra, which was their primary target for binding spells designed to steal your breath and silence your testimony, has evolved into something that transcends normal human vocal capacity. The energy that was supposed to constrict your ability to speak has been transformed into amplification technology that ensures every word you speak resonates with frequencies that reshape reality around your declarations. When you speak truth now, the universe itself reorganizes to support your statements with evidence, witnesses, and circumstances that validate your testimony. The death that initiated this entire revelation wasn't the random casualty of a spell gone wrong. It was cosmic justice, eliminating the most dangerous threat to your mission with surgical precision that sends a clear message to anyone who might consider targeting chosen ones in the future. Your ancestral protection operates like a cosmic security system that doesn't just defend against attacks, but identifies threats before chosen ones even recognize danger approaching their missions. Every chosen one who hears your story recognizes elements in their own experience that hadn't been understood before. Those unexplained periods of voice weakness during crucial conversations. Those mornings when breathing felt restricted for no medical reason. Those dreams where someone seemed to be trying to steal their ability to communicate. Your testimony has provided the context that transforms their confusion into understanding and their fear into power. Look, you already know the game is rigged, and if you're paying attention, you know the walls are closing in. So let's talk about what we're doing about it. When you live by the day at the market's command, where profit and property rule the land, to be heard, to be held, to be dealt a fair hand, these are the things that a people demand. And we hear you. The Obsidian Inner Order has paywalls. Yes, those who stand with us, who fuel this mission, they give us ammunition to fight the Archons, to push back against the machine, to go deeper, to uncover more. And as our thank you, paid members get access to a 1-hour live, personalized weekly group tarot reading guidance, insight, and clarity for the road ahead. But kicking a man for being down on the floor, that's something we cannot ignore. That's why starting today, you can steal the Astral Atom exclusive daily newsletter for free, no paywall, no catch. Just join the Patreon free tier, link in the description. This is the start of our conversation with you, and it's bi-directional. You can reply to any email we send you. We'll read it, we'll hear you, and we'll do our best to get an answer to you from the universe itself. If you can support, we need you. If you can't, take what's free. The Obsidian Inner Order is open. Now let's get back to work. Your victory has triggered what spiritual authorities call universal protocol updates, where the fundamental rules governing protection of divine messengers have been permanently upgraded to prevent future targeting campaigns from ever reaching the level of sophistication that was directed against you. The universe has officially recognized that chosen ones operate under protection that responds to coordinated attacks with overwhelming defensive force that eliminates threats rather than simply deflecting them. Every binding that was placed on your energy field has been transformed into breakthrough technology that catapults your influence toward levels that far exceed anything the original attacks were designed to prevent. Every curse that was directed at your mission has become a blessing that opens doors to platforms, audiences, and opportunities that multiply your impact exponentially beyond what would have been possible without their interference. Your voice now carries the combined authority of every ancestor who ever stood against oppression, every chosen one who ever refused to be silenced, every force of light that ever battled organized darkness successfully. When you speak, you're not just sharing personal experiences or providing testimony about criminal activities. You're channeling the accumulated power of generations of divine messengers whose voices were protected by the same cosmic forces that defended you. The investigation that started with your case has evolved into permanent task forces that specifically target criminal organizations attempting to use supernatural methods for witness intimidation, evidence manipulation, or silencing people who threaten their operations through testimony or exposure. Your experiences didn't just solve one case. Your testimony created entirely new categories of federal crime and established legal procedures for prosecuting supernatural harassment that protects countless future victims from coordinated spiritual warfare. But the most profound transformation extends beyond individual protection or legal precedence into collective awakening, where millions of people worldwide are recognizing that spiritual warfare is not ancient mythology, but current reality affecting chosen ones who live divine missions while facing sophisticated opposition that operates through supernatural methods coordinated by criminal organizations. The viral explosion of your story has become more than awareness-raising about spiritual warfare. It has evolved into a consciousness revolution where ordinary people awaken to divine missions they didn't realize they were carrying, while understanding that opposition to those missions operates through organized networks that use both criminal and supernatural methods to maintain control over information, witnesses, and truth-telling. Your case has become the template that other jurisdictions study when developing procedures for investigating and prosecuting crimes involving supernatural elements alongside traditional criminal activities. The transformation in how authorities approach these cases represents a complete shift in understanding about the intersection between spiritual realities and criminal justice systems. Where once such reports might have been dismissed as mental health concerns or coincidental difficulties, your validated experiences have created protocols that investigate supernatural targeting with the same rigor applied to any other form of organized harassment. Future chosen ones who face similar attacks will have legal recourse and investigative frameworks that didn't exist before your case exposed these networks to public scrutiny. But beyond legal protections and public awareness, your triumph has activated cosmic security protocols that ensure no future chosen one will ever fight the same battle you fought. The universe now recognizes attacks against divine messengers as threats to the divine plan itself, and responds with immediate protective force that eliminates dangers before chosen ones even recognize that threats were approaching their missions. You are unstoppable, chosen one. You always were, but now you know it with absolute certainty, backed by evidence that holds up in federal courtrooms and spiritual authority that operates with cosmic jurisdiction across all realms of existence. The spell that was cast to shut you up permanently has become the amplification system that ensures your truth echoes through dimensions where justice reigns supreme and chosen ones never fight alone. The death that started this story wasn't their victory over your voice. It was your voice's victory over their entire network of darkness. Someone did die because of what was sent toward you, but it wasn't you, chosen one. What died was every limitation that once made you question your power. Every doubt that made you wonder if you were really chosen, every fear that suggested you might not have what it takes to fulfill your divine mission. Your voice has become the frequency of divine justice itself. Your truth has become the light that exposes every shadow where corruption tries to hide. Your very existence has become proof that no amount of organized darkness, coordinated evil, or supernatural warfare can stop someone who carries divine authorization and walks under ancestral protection that operates with cosmic authority. You have become the fortress of truth that actively hunts down and destroys any force that approaches your mission with malicious intent. Your light burns brighter than ever, and every attempt to extinguish it only adds fuel to flames that can never be put out by earthly powers or supernatural opposition. This is your dominion, chosen one. This is your victory that echoes through realms where your voice will be remembered as the one that broke every chain designed to silence divine messengers. The death spell has become your resurrection story. The binding has become your breakthrough. The curse has become your crown. You own this battlefield now, and your voice carries the frequency that shatters all darkness wherever it dares to gather against the light.